Success, launch.
Wow, it's working. It's a good sign.
This week has just been kind of a bear with Trump making all of his appointments. Yeah, here we go again. I mean, we're talking about something that happens every time there's a new president and they nominate their entire cabinet, and then the opposing party goes in to try to thwart it,
to destroy them, to character assassinate them, and they're going to have their hands full.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of people that they hate.
Yeah,
that Trump has appointed,
and there's someone I don't particularly care for either. I mean,
I agree.
For the most part, I like them.
Yeah,
I mean, you can go through it. I mean, I think Pete Hegseth is just tremendous.
I think he's great, and they hate him, and it's so frustrating to see people like on The View, like the Joy Behar and all those other
but that's why we
cackling hags. Yeah, that's why we watch The View all the time.
We watch them to hate them.
They characterize him as a weekend Fox show host or whatever, and he's a major in the military. He's still in the military, the rank of major. 20 years of service in the military, 2 Bronze Stars.
He's a patriot like crazy.
Door kicker.
All day long.
Ground pounder, door kicker.
Ground pounder.
And he's got a degree from Princeton and a degree from Harvard. So he's totally qualified. I don't understand why they just, he's just a part-time Fox host.
Because he's a weekend guy. Well, that's Whoopi's problem.
That's all he is just a weekend host.
A weekend
guy.
Because she's full-time, so therefore she's better.
She's a full-time bitch is what she is.
She is Jabba the Whoopi.
Yeah,
Whoopi's
she's
the
terrible.
Jabba.
But he's great.
It's Whoopi the Hutt, I think.
Whoopi the Hutt. Yeah, she's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a great pick. I think he will probably make it through the selection process. He's got some stuff going on. Apparently, the women love him, and he loves the women. But I don't think there's anything untoward. He's just.
I don't think so either. Although there was some kind of charge on something somewhere that said that he had, an accusation about, touching a child. But of course, there's no accusations about President Biden touching a child.
There's video of him doing that on stage over and over.
I know. It's unbelievable, actually.
Was that Hegseth or Gates? Because the Gates thing.
Oh no, but see, everybody touches a child. They have to during the course of taking pictures and doing
it's
this.
It's projection because Biden and Waltz are both pedophiles,
I think,
allegedly.
Well, right. Yeah, we don't know, but we have seen evidence with Biden.
Oh, for sure,
kissing and slobbering on babies' foots and
sniffing
feet.
and touching weirdly and just whispering crap in their ears. And I'm thinking, every time I see that, I think, that's what he does in public.
My favorite thing was, don't tell your mother. Oh. That's
the worst.
Oh, God, don't tell your mother.
Sick. What does he do behind closed doors if that's what he does on stage with cameras on him?
And what do you think Jill is thinking the whole time?
All she cares about is money and Air Force One.
Yeah. And
power.
I think she is very addicted to having her own hairstylist downstairs.
Think so. Yep, that's why she didn't want to give it up.
No,
they didn't.
Clear.
Because they were talking about Biden stepping down and allowing Camel Toe to be the first black Southeast Asian woman president. And
no, black
too. Yeah.
No, but she's not black.
Well,
the only thing she is not black.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
He was half black, but anyway,
she's not.
He wasn't. He didn't step down. I don't think he was very happy with the coup that Nancy Pelosi pulled off, and so it almost seemed like he was undermining them. But back to the picks.
Yeah,
I think Hegseth is great. I'm not so thrilled about Gates.
I'm not.
I think he had bad judgment when they took Kevin McCarthy out, and it wasn't that Kevin McCarthy was doing a perfect job, but he wasn't terrible. And then he had no real good plans. He and the group of people that took McCarthy out had no real plans to get somebody really conservative in like a Jim Jordan. And so we ended up with a Mike Johnson who he's at least as squishy, if not more than
I think
McCarthy.
He's maybe more middle of the road.
Yeah. I'm not sure if he's middle of the road or he reauthorized FISA. And the money for the new FBI headquarters, which, the FBI has been weaponized against the American people, so I wouldn't have done that. I would have held out for at least something. rather than just give it to him.
I think I agree with you, but I think that also that we have this Marjorie Taylor Greene character.
Oh, I like her.
I like her in terms of like I always agree with her on X when
she
she's
also
asking
didn't have
questions.
a plan for who they're gonna.
Yeah, they didn't know what they wanted. They just get out.
They just wanted McCarthy
Get
out.
I'm out. I'm pissed. I don't like you
And
anymore.
it was kind of stupid to do that when they have such a thin margin.
It's a teenage thing.
Yeah, it was.
Leave me alone.
Yeah, they could have just allowed him to stay in till the end.
And he was great.
Then,
I thought he was terrific.
I thought he was doing all right. You know, would you want someone more conservative? Yeah, but you don't always get what you want. He wasn't that bad.
No, and he kept everything moving.
Yeah,
And the difficulty is, of course, we have to strike. You know, I mean, the Republicans going on strike and the dock workers going on strike really has the same devastating effect to both sides. It just is not the thing to do. What you want to do is you want to work it out. Mm-hmm. And she stopped it, and Gates stopped it.
right.
And I think it was a bad choice at the time, and I think it still is.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that he's going to react differently than Merrick Garland might.
Oh, well, Merrick Garland was going after people who hadn't committed crimes. He was making up the crime.
How do you know Gates isn't going to do that?
I don't think he will because, well, he doesn't have to
Maybe.
because the Democrats have done plenty of crimes, actual crimes, not the fake ones like they tried to pin on Trump and his supporters.
Right.
You know, like Navarro got sent to prison for no reason, and so did Roger Stone and all these other folks. Oh, Steve Bannon, he just got out of prison for no reason.
No, he got out for a reason.
He got out.
He didn't go in for a reason.
He was in there for no reason, basically, and it's just ridiculous. So I just don't know if Mike Johnson is really as conservative as they said. Just like John Roberts, the Supreme Court Chief Justice, he was billed as, this guy's rock-ribbed conservative. He's going to be really constitutionalist.
Right.
Then he gets in and he does some squishy things, like puts Obamacare through, actually rewrites it, which is not the purview of the judicial system. That's for the legislative branch to do, not for him. And he's done some very squishy...
That is upsetting when you get to the Supreme Court and they don't know their role.
Yeah.
They don't even know what part of government, how they fit in.
He can't be fired.
No.
He doesn't have to run. So he could be, he could be very conservative. If that was truly what was in his heart to be conservative and follow the Constitution strictly, he could have done that. I don't know if they sat people like him and Johnson down with the real footage of Kennedy's head exploding or... You know, the Zapruder film's got nothing on this. No. This is what's going to happen to you if you don't play ball with the deep state.
Could be,
because these people, they get into a position, all of a sudden they're compromised.
Was it Schmucky Schumer that said that if you don't play with the
deep state or the intel community, they have 10 ways from Sunday to ruin your life or end it even.
Right.
So yeah, that's quite possible. Which is unfortunate because we need people who will stand up.
But those guys are terrified.
Oh, yeah.
To cross. I mean, you never hear anything bad about the CIA. We hear about the FBI.
When they're awful. They're awful.
I know. You're talking about the CIA?
Both.
But well, you're right.
Yeah.
But they have two different roles. Mm-hmm. Very, very, very different roles. And the CIA is all subversive.
Yeah.
I think. Well, that's my impression. That's what I see.
They have these overthrows in other countries, these color revolutions and stuff. Like they've got Zelensky in Ukraine because he was going to play ball and do money laundering with the deep state here. So, the guy they had in before was fine.
And according to RFK,
in 2014 they did that.
According to RFK Jr., all of the stuff that came about COVID, about how to shove things down the public's throat, get them to submit, and that was all done via the CIA. They proved that they could do that.
Yeah, so, it was a big psychological operation.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to enforce things that much. They got a bunch of people, they weaponized people in society who have this tyrannical bent, and they give them a little bit of power. And these are what we call Karens, They're the people who accost you in the store for not wearing your mask. You're going against the stupid lines on the ground, the arrows on the ground. I never paid any attention to that crap, and I got yelled at.
I did too.
Yeah, I don't care because
you're going the wrong way.
What are they going to do? I'm 6'8", 250. What are you going to do?
Right. Well, to me, they might pop me, but
probably not.
I'm not 6'8".
Yeah,
let's face it.
So you just mentioned RFK Jr. That's another appointee, HHS,
and they're going crazy.
They're going crazy.
You know why? Because he's a turncoat. But think about this for just a second. I'm going to guess that 90% of these people, everybody but Tom Homan, I think, was a
awesome.
Democrat at one point.
Mm-hmm.
I was a Democrat at one point. I think
I was
you
at
probably,
one point, in college.
And I think everything becomes about adulthood, critical thinking.
Right.
You realize, oh my God, look at what I've been supporting all this time.
Right.
And you saw that in this last election by landslide numbers, people left the Democrat Party.
Right.
And so they're going to punish people like RFK Jr. because look what he's doing to us. He knows our secrets.
Well,
He's on the inside of all this, and he's still left.
Harris Waltz had the opportunity to embrace his stance on big pharma and cleaning up the food supply, but they wouldn't even take his call. They just had some junior schmuck take his call, and they weren't really interested. But when RFK Jr. reached out to Trump, he's all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'll fly you down to Mar-a-Lago, and we'll really talk about this.
Right, I'll send you the plane.
This is great that he's actually appointing him because it means he took that seriously, because that's a huge deal. I mean, national health is terrible. The obesity rates, the diabetes rates are
hideous.
so high. They're hideously high. And the cost of keeping people alive and trying to keep people healthy when all the food supply is trying to kill us and big pharma is trying to kill us, it's just, we can't afford it. There's no way. It's taking a huge portion of our GDP is going to healthcare, way more than it ever should. And we're not even healthy. We're fatter.
We're getting less healthy.
We're getting less healthy. We're fatter, lazier, less resistant to disease than we ever were.
Right.
And a lot of it's lifestyle, but a lot of it also is all these additives to food, and the pharmaceuticals are getting people hooked up.
And it's not just that; it's the food, and it's the behemoth that is all of these things.
Yeah.
The huge insurance companies, the big cereal companies. I mean, cereal because that's what we keep talking about, Fruit Loops and stuff.
They're staffed with a lot of former executives from big tobacco.
Oh, is that right?
They know how to make an addictive product, and that's what they're doing with food.
And how to make it work.
How to make it,
in your favor.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm very encouraged because I'm sure I don't agree with RFK Jr. on a lot of stuff. Certainly like gun laws and things like that, because he's kind of a gun grabber to some degree. But in his role at HHS, as long as he doesn't say gun violence is a health crisis, because they've been pushing that, because then you can suspend the Constitution to take care of the health crisis, because they did that during COVID.
I'm going to mention just one thing in defense of RFK. Not that I feel I have to, but having grown up in his family, he must certainly be anti-gun.
Yeah.
I mean, as much pro-gun as I am, I can understand where he's coming from, where his family has been,
Right. But then, I don't know, that's it could go either way, because you could think, well, I need to be protected by people with guns, because guns are out there. They're not going away. And if you disarm the population, the criminals are still going to have guns.
Oh, I know. I understand this.
People, they say, we'll make it safer by disarming the population. It's like, good luck with that. Like Chicago, D.C., all these places that have the strictest gun controls have the highest murder rates.
Of course. And it's going to take some education is what I'm sort of leading up to. He's going to have to learn this. But he's been held within he's been held captive within the Democrat ranks.
Well, if he sticks to working, with the FDA and making that not such a revolving door between big food, big pharma, and the FDA, and then also trying to clean up the food supply, that would be just great. I'm enthusiastic about RFK, and I'm glad that Trump just didn't use him for the election. Like, oh, see, this is a transition team. This is a big tent. We're including people. And then cast him aside when he's making his cabinet picks. So he's one of the picks. So Trump was sincere in embracing that. So I'm enthused.
You say that, you don't think you agree with everything that RFK has to say, and I'm sure that that's absolutely true. But I think that I probably don't agree with Trump on absolutely everything either.
I certainly don't. He thinks the jab's awesome.
Right, exactly. There you go. Perfect example. But we have to choose, because we're actually hiring somebody to run the country. Right. We are the board of directors, I guess. We're the owners. We're the stockholders. We have to be able to discern who's going to be best in totality for the country.
Well, I'm enthused about the new department, the one they're floating out, the DOGE Department of Government Efficiency, and it's with
Vivek.
Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, and they have an agenda to cut down on the size and scope and cost of government, which is great, by eliminating regulations and eliminating positions and even whole departments. I mean, I hope they get rid of the Department of Education because that's unnecessary on the federal level. That should go no higher than the state level.
Well, and it's actually doing us a lot of harm, I think.
It has been. It's just wasting money.
Almost since the beginning.
Yeah, it's terrible.
They figured out right away how to grift as much as they possibly could.
Have.
It's just awful.
And it's not like the test scores have gone up since then. They've gone down.
The more we spend.
The more we spend, the worse it gets.
Yep.
People are dumber and dumber.
Well, the students are.
Students are, well.
You know, the other thing about that, just in general, is that all these people who are whining about, the whoopies of the world are complaining. In fact, Sonny on The View said this very thing. They're uneducated.
Oh,
They're uneducated. Well, I'm thinking to myself, every time I see them, if this is educated, I'm really glad that I never got a degree.
Exactly right.
I mean,
because formal degrees don't make you smart.
The School of Hard Knocks in actual business sense is way, way better than a degree.
There's a lot of skilled tradesmen and businessmen who don't have a college degree that are way smarter than any of these people would have Ivy League degrees because they're just naturally smart and they went through the School of Hard Knocks and they educated themselves and they've been successful. Whereas some of these Ivy League people they sit around and complain. And they think that their degree should open doors for them, and it doesn't because they're stupid. Some of them. I mean, there's also very smart people from Ivy League schools, too.
Yeah.
But it doesn't guarantee intelligence. It doesn't guarantee good critical thinking skills or good decision making.
Right.
But the other great thing about that Doge is it's not going to be this department. It's like, well, you added a department. You're trying to cut down the size of government. It's got an expiration date. And that is...
And practically no overhead.
Yeah. The expiration date is July, what is it, 4th of July?
The 4th of July.
2026, which is the 250th anniversary of our founding.
Yeah.
That's great.
Here's a gift.
Yeah, here's a gift.
But of course, we've had those kind of experiments before. That people have been hired to put together a group and come up with a plan to cut way back. And of course, the Congress does one thing, nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all lumped into one big nothing.
It's like the Department of Energy was put together during the oil crisis. And
I forgot that.
I think they were. I have to go back and look, but I'm 80% sure they were put together during the oil embargo and the oil crisis in the 70s. We were energy independent under Trump. But they still had the Department of Energy. Like, oh, we need to really deal with OPEC and all this other stuff. They could have gotten rid of them too.
Yeah. But I think we probably needed a Department of Energy during a Democratic administration.
Yeah, probably
more than the rest of the time.
They don't need to have them to administer oil leases and mining leases and stuff like that.
So in terms of not doing anything, how do you feel about Governor Christine Noem being in charge of the DHS? I mean, I think her heart's probably in the right place, and she's certainly seen a lot of crap that the DHS has done in the past.
She's governed pretty well in South Dakota. I mean, South Dakota's
what is there to do?
I know.
Shoot your dog.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's bad enough that she shot a dog because she didn't like it, and then came back and shot a goat because she didn't like it. But to put it in her autobiography and then claim that shows that I'm willing to, be the leader and take on stuff and do the hard work. It's like, it's not like I was just talking about this with a college roommate just before I came up here to do this, and he was saying, yeah, it's just crazy. Just to use that as an example of I'm a leader because I shot a dog. Now, if you shot a dog that was injured or dying, had cancer and it was in pain and everything, and it's like, well, I can't get it to the vet because I can't move it. It's in so much pain.
Right.
Yeah, maybe then I wouldn't brag about it. It's one of those things you regret doing and that you have to do it. But she just did it because she didn't like the dog.
Right.
And people are calling her out, and she's like, no, shows I'm a leader.
No, and I know
get my hands dirty.
Makes me really seriously question. I mean, I almost can't look at her. I used to be able to, and I used to, even as a gay man, I could look at her and say, wow, she's a pretty woman. She's really got herself together. Now, I can't look at her. I have to look away.
Because of the dog thing?
Yeah.
Or because
I know who she
you're
is.
seeing all the Botox?
No, I don't know. No.
She does look like she had some work done.
You will. So do a lot
Yeah.
of people.
But speaking of people who get their hands dirty, Hillary Clinton, how many people did she have killed?
Yeah.
Not just a dog and a goat.
See, she got
People-
her hands. She didn't get her hands
No,
dirty.
she had Podesta to do it.
You think that's right?
She had a bunch of people. But
Staff.
yeah. The staff did it for her. So who else?
Well, no, but let's go back to Hillary for a second.
Hillary? Okay.
Because Hillary, I mean, this whole thing, everything that we hate about the Democrat Party, which inured to the benefit of all of these people understanding who was the government, was Hillary starting off by saying they're part of a Russian conspiracy.
Yeah, big lie.
The big lie.
Russian collusion.
And it's been proven over and over and over, and yet she
And they
keeps going back
still
to
use it.
All of them do.
Yeah, Harris and Waltz and Biden, they still use that. They still use the very fine people on both sides hoax. And they're probably saying that Jussie Smollett is, a victim somehow. It's just ridiculous. It's been proven over and over. But people never stop. They cloak themselves in victimhood because that's where the power is.
But I believe that us as a country, I think that we intuitively knew eventually that's a lie when we would hear it again and again and again. About Trump not being.
There's so many people who barely watch the news. And if they look at a newspaper, it's the headlines only. And the headlines are often misleading. If you read,
You think?
If you read the whole story, it's like, that's not what the headline said, but they know people are going to read the headline, and that's all they're going to take away from that, whatever information they wanted the public to know, or not know, but to think, because they know they're not going to read the whole story, which might contradict the headline.
I have to say that I think a lot of people probably do talk about stuff that they've heard, that they've discerned. You don't necessarily have to think about the facts that you learned in class or reading the newspaper. You can discern it from talking to a neighbor over dinner. Or whatever. You can just sort of to hear all these things over and over again and figure out that something's really wrong. And I think that's how Trump got elected, and he kept pounding it over and over and over, and it kind of all of a sudden made sense.
It was pretty hard to hide the gas prices and insurance costs and pharmaceutical costs and groceries. People buy groceries probably every week, I would say. And the prices are ridiculous.
I try not to.
Yeah, I know. I try not to. I wish I didn't have to eat, but I do.
It's so expensive.
It's ridiculously expensive.
Oh my God.
Stuff that used to, look like the staples. Before COVID, and this might be a COVID thing or it might be a supply chain thing, but before COVID, you could get a gallon of bleach, not necessarily the Clorox, but a store brand, Great Value or whatever. It was like $1.79 a gallon. Now it's like $6.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, what is it? Just like $2.29 or even $2.50? No, it's like $5 something or even $6. How could it possibly go up that high? We've been making bleach for hundreds of years. And it's not that complicated.
Except for the fact that there is transportation costs.
Yeah, and it's heavy.
And it's a heavy thing, and plus the packaging costs.
Yeah, plastic.
And then probably they have all kinds of EPA fees that they have to pay. I don't know that, but I'm guessing that makes sense.
Yeah, any one of those manufacturing plants, there's so many regulations, because that used to be what I did.
Yeah.
Is I helped the manufacturing plants and industrial sites with their regulations and cleaning up their hazardous waste spills.
So you're that guy.
I'm that guy. And it's ridiculously expensive.
When you look at this list, and I'm going to hold this up. This is I took this off a picture of off the TV so that we could have this as a reference. It's all of the picks, the presidential elect Trump's cabinet picks, and it's not even completed yet, but it is what's happening right now. Of all these people, of all these faces, name your favorite couple. Not as a couple.
Favorite couple?
2 or 3 people that you think is absolutely astonishing.
Well, Tom Homan is definitely my favorite pick. Because,
a man who's never smiled in his life.
He is great because he doesn't back down.
No.
I mean, that whole thing when AOC is grilling him about, you breaking up families, like, we're not going to break them up. We're going to deport the whole family. It's like, that is a perfect answer.
That's right. And what we all dream about.
I know, and exactly. And he made the really good point, like if if you're driving around drunk with a kid in the car, the police pull you over, you're going to jail and you're separated from your kid.
Right.
That's just how it works. It works that way for citizens. It works that way for illegal aliens.
And I wish it worked
make
that way
separated.
for AOC much more.
Oh, I know. I wish she'd be separated
Yeah.
from her. I like that. I like RFK Jr. in
Yep.
his particular role. I wouldn't like him in other roles, but that whole revolving door between big pharma and the FDA, and big food and poisoning the food supply with all kinds of nasty additives. That has not been looked at yet. And
No.
thank God someone's finally taken it seriously.
Yep. And it is two different things.
Yeah.
That's not the same thing exactly as food
No,
supply.
it's not the same thing.
Not at all.
I really, really like Elon and Vivek Ramaswamy and the whole idea of Doge to reduce regulations and in turn reduce government, the reach and scope of government and the cost of government, because we can't afford this.
And you realize that
things are going.
Doge was the king in Venice.
Oh yeah,
He was the Doge. The Doge was the Doge's palace,
right?
And that's where you would go. In fact, the Bridge of Sighs, because there's a huge prison right there, and the Bridge of Sighs was after the Doge condemned you.
Oh really?
You'd walk across the Bridge of Sighs to the prison, and you'd look out the window and say, "I'm never going to see this guy again in my life."
Oh, geez.
And that was the whole thing about the Bridge of Sighs. Anyway, I am in particular
who do
in
you really
awe
like?
of Tulsi Gabbard. I just think she's so great and so well spoken and so well thought.
Right.
And she's another one of those people that was a Democrat for so much of her life, and she was dedicated to the party, and they just betrayed her. So I love the fact that she can look at them and say, screw you guys.
Yeah.
You're not in charge of me anymore, and I'm going to vote for the things that are going to be best for the United States.
Well, she turned against the Democrat Party, then all of a sudden she ended up on a no-fly list.
She had to write.
Basically, every time she and her husband would go through the airport, they'd be pulled aside for pat downs and extra scrutiny. I mean, was she a senator or congressman?
She was a congresswoman.
Congresswoman. To have her be on some no-fly list, that's ridiculous. I mean,
More importantly,
plus,
she was a lieutenant colonel.
she's still, she's in the Army too. So she pretty much swore an oath to the Constitution.
How can you take somebody from the Army and put them on the no-fly list?
Oh, it was,
and
just,
she's still active.
It was just retribution.
Of
It
course.
was pure retribution because she was the darling of the Democrat Party because she's this young, attractive, woman from Hawaii, really good speaker, very smart, personable, and military career and all that. So they loved her. They couldn't get enough of her.
Their pride,
and they pushed her really, really high up in the Democrat Party very quickly. And then all of a sudden, she's like, "This is not what I signed up for. This party's corrupt."
Yeah.
And so she was kind of playing the middle there for a while. Then she reached out to Republicans and found that they were more to her liking. And a lot of people are finding that. I mean, the Republican Party has become the party of the working man, where the Democrat Party was definitely that for years and years.
I'm also, I think Pete Hegseth is right
great.
up there. I love Lee Zeldin. He is a wonderful man.
But for EPA?
Yeah. I'm sad that he's not going to have a bigger role because I think he's a genuinely good guy.
Well, EPA
is pretty huge.
It's huge. It's gigantic, and there's so much money involved, and it has a lot to do with how efficient our manufacturing infrastructure. The EPA can make or break some of that. They can cripple our manufacturing with overregulation,
as they have over and over, and people's homes.
Yeah.
And, of course, the big push in the EPA is like a frog or something where they're going to devastate a building project.
Right.
It's just ridiculous.
There's this frog that's slightly different than this other frog. And there's only two of them. So you can't build it. It's like I worked with the EPA for the longest time. And, they have some good people in there, but they slow things down tremendously. I mean, we could have done these if the EPA is involved and has their hand in it, like it's under some agreed order, which is a legal thing. It's an agreed order with like one of my clients who manufactured airplanes, and We could have got so far ahead on the cleanup, but it just drug on and on because it was meeting after meeting, and you had to prove everything had to be proved to the nth degree that these are the data, they're right, and you really have it characterized perfectly, and you're going to do this remediation system, and it has to be shown to it's going to work. It's like, just let us go ahead with our best judgment based on the data we have, see what kind of improvement we can get, and we'll keep tweaking it, and we'll keep collecting data. But no, it had to be perfect before you even do anything.
What you're describing is like the democratic way of squeezing money out of absolutely every project.
Yeah, that happened to another client of mine. It was a county that had its landfill. It was an unlined landfill, and it was leaking into this creek and everything. And they were going to do some work to make the landfill leachate, to intercept it and treat it, run it through a treatment system. And Department of Ecology, which is like the state equivalent of the EPA in Washington State, they started putting so many requirements on that it's like, oh, now we can't afford it. So we're just going to let it keep running into the creek, which was allowable. Just keep monitoring the creek and writing reports. So they could have fixed it, but the requirements were just too
onerous,
too high and onerous. And it's like, now we can't.
Yeah.
If you won't let us fix it reasonably, we just can't afford to do it. And then they never did. And so it just kept on going right into the creek.
What a shame.
Yeah. Landfill leachate, the stinkiest stuff in the world.
Think about Matt Gaetz, because of all the reports, he seems to be the I don't know, what is it? He seems to be the bad boy of the group.
He's the least likely to get confirmed.
Yeah,
I think. And I don't know if this is like the art of the deal that Trump is doing. My college roommate and I were talking, and we were like,
the grand bargain.
It's possible that Gaetz is in there because it's like, okay, if we withdraw Gaetz and put someone else in there, then you have to put this other person through, who they really want. And Gaetz really does kind of need to step down because he's under investigation.
Well, he's already been investigated.
Yeah, but they haven't released it.
No, but you know what?
Censored him.
The DOJ came up with a thing some time ago, and they didn't choose to prosecute.
Right.
And so you have to, of course, they didn't say why. Maybe they were paid off. Maybe there's something else. Not impossible.
I don't think any laws were broken. Was it more of an ethics thing?
I don't know. Yeah. Who knows? Because we don't get told that.
We don't know.
That's a case. That's an ongoing case we can't talk about.
Right.
So we don't hear about that. Even Congress doesn't hear about that sometimes. So this was an ethical situation that they were investigating him, and I think it was about several different things. But so he quit just prior to the report being released. So that does not speak particularly well, although it might not have been so terrible. Maybe it just happens to be the timing of, him being appointed as Attorney General.
He quits because he's appointed as Attorney General, and it's like, you got to quit that job to take your new job. The other thing is now DeSantis gets to appoint someone to his position.
Yes.
To Gates' position.
Yeah. And DeSantis is going, good thing.
Yeah, that's right.
I can do what I should have done all along.
Possibly someone more effective and not compromised.
Yeah.
Because Gates is, in some ways, I like him because he pisses off the people I hate.
Yeah, well,
and so
I get it.
That's a plus. But I thought he was kind of ill-advised to go ahead and get rid of Kevin McCarthy before he'd planned to replace him. He had the votes in place.
Right.
It's like
and they didn't.
Yeah.
He and what's her name? Taylor Greene.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. There were a couple others, that
they stand out though.
Yeah, they do.
They stand out in front of the camera mostly.
Oh, yeah, they do all the time.
Yeah.
But he should have had a plan in place for the replacement. It's like, you don't get rid of someone, because McCarthy wasn't horrible. He was actually pretty good. I'd say better than average, possibly, as Speaker of the House.
Well, I would say he didn't attempt to make himself the center of everything.
Right.
Which I think is a plus.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, and he did his job.
He could have been replaced by somebody worse, and maybe he was, because Johnson, I don't know.
Well, I don't mind him. I don't.
Well, he's not as conservative as we had been told.
Okay, but so Marjorie Taylor Greene and Gaetz are as conservative as we were told, and they still didn't know, working with this guy, that he wasn't as conservative as they were making him out to be.
But I'm back to my whole thing about maybe he was that conservative, and they showed him the real JFK
maybe.
assassination.
You might be right.
Yeah, it's like we can do that to you too.
Yeah.
So look, we did it right in front of everybody during a parade in Dallas. We can do it to you anytime we want.
I think, though, that Gates is likely to go for the big brass ring in terms of his operation if he's confirmed.
Right.
And I'm not sure that that's what we should have.
Right.
I mean, I'm going to drop back for a moment just to describe my position. I believe that the Supreme Court doesn't necessarily have to have attorneys. In fact, it wasn't designed to have attorneys. It was designed to have a bunch of moral people who could decide ethically, is this right or wrong?
Is this constitutional?
But it was based on, is this new law right or wrong? And for the people to send it back and say, this isn't going to pass. We're not going to let this go.
Right.
That was how it was. The Supreme Court was designed. It wasn't designed for attorneys.
Right.
No, it's okay that there's attorneys and that there's judges, but these guys are all hiding behind the position.
Why are they all attorneys?
Yeah, because the people who are appointing them are hiding behind their judicial.
Right.
What do you call it? Your VC or whatever it is.
Right.
Your curriculum. I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me, and I'm afraid of where we're pushing the Justice Department.
Yeah.
I don't think you should have to be an attorney to be Attorney General. By the way,
right.
Because right and wrong really does play into this, and their Merrick Garland's consistently wrong actions is what got Trump. Among
Merrick
other
Garland
things.
has no ethics other than it's all
None.
partisan. It's
None.
like I'm going to go after my enemies. I'm going to make up crimes. I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Right.
And it is pretty bad. They have attorneys in all these positions because they're like. Some of them are the lowest form of life.
Yeah.
And to have them running the show is not good.
And Merrick Garland is right at the top of that list. He's just a terrible man.
Yep.
And somebody realized.
He's the glistening corn on top of the turd.
Somebody realized along the way that this was not a guy who should be a Supreme Court justice.
Thank God.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because now he's going to be gone. If he was in the Supreme Court,
he'd never be gone.
He'd never be gone.
Right.
Unless he crossed Hillary.
His evilness.
Yeah, like Scalia.
I think that we are at the point where we need to ask somebody what they think.
Yeah, we want to hear who you like, who you don't like in these picks. And there's going to be more. This is just the first 15, 20.
Yeah, we'll keep talking.
All right.
We should talk. I'm Russell Palmer.
I'm Doug Kunkel.